get started for the Transportation Advisory Board meeting for October 13th. If we can get a call to order and a roll call, please.
Chair Kalkoffer.
Here.
Board Member Sterrett.
Here.
Board Member Wickland.
Here.
Vice Chair McKee-Burrows. Here. Board Member McInerney.
Here.
Council Member Yarbrough.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And on this special day, we acknowledge that Longmont sits on the traditional territory of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, and other indigenous people. We honor the history and the living and the spiritual connection that the first people have with this land. It is our commitment to face the injustice that happened when this land was taken, and to educate our communities, ourselves, and our children to ensure that these injustices do not happen again. Do we have any discussion on the minutes, or do I have a motion to approve the minutes from August and September?
To approve the minutes.
Second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes passed. Alrighty.
The minutes for the most recent board session indicate that Connie Carter's message was read aloud. She had sent a message to our board secretary on September 6th. And the minutes don't mention any response. My question is, was there any response to Connie Carter regarding her concern about bus transportation to the Denver airport?
We did discuss it, but I don't know if there was any follow-up from the staff. Is there any follow-up?
Typically, when public's invited to be heard, they are allowed to read their statement. The board is not necessarily supposed to be responding at that time. They're just supposed to be hearing what the folks are saying, so they don't necessarily respond.
Okay. I'm going to request that our board secretary, Stephanie, send an email to Connie Carter thanking her for her input and attaching the letter that our board sent to the RTD board earlier this year. I think that's a matter of public record, and it does address her issue of getting a sky ride to Denver Airport from Longmont. So, and if that requires a formal motion, I so move.
If I could just clarify. Hi, good evening, Kaylee Fallon, Transportation Planner. Cami Edson, the new Transportation Planning Manager, did respond to Connie Carter's email in depth. She did send information on RTD's webpage with the options for Connie to provide direct feedback to RTD, and then also encouraged Connie to keep reaching out to the tab with her ideas as they see fit. So, Cami did respond directly to that on September 11th.
Did she attach our letter?
I don't believe so.
I'm still going to recommend that we do that. Does that require a motion?
There's motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any in opposition? Stephanie, can you either reach out to Connie or have Cami reach out?
I'll have Cami reach out.
Thank you. Alrighty, moving on to communication from staff.
Great, good evening. So the first item we have under this is the World Day of Remembrance. Dylan Zamora Silva, who is the Community engagement specialist. He works very closely with our Vision Zero team, is unable to be here tonight, but he did give me some information about the day. So I'll just read this blurb. Longmont World Day of Remembrance is a day to remember and honor individuals whose lives have been tragically lost or altered due to traffic violence. Longmont will be hosting the World Day of Remembrance at the Longmont Museum November 5th, 2025 from 6 to 8:30 p.m. This year's theme is Safer Speeds Save Lives. The night will feature speakers, community building activities, and food. And so Dylan's request is that they are looking for at least one representative from the TAB to speak at the event if possible. So we will be sending out a follow-up email tomorrow to see if folks are interested, but if we have a volunteer tonight as well, that was the request. And of course, you are more than welcome to attend without speaking as well.
Great. Thank you. And then e-bike safety campaign?
Yeah, I'd like to call up Ben Ortiz to talk about the e-bike safety campaign.
Good evening. My name is Ben Ortiz, transportation planner. So, in response to this item, it looks like on September 23rd, Councilmember Popkin made the following motion. And I'll just give you a verbatim, I quote, to direct the city manager to develop a comprehensive approach for safely accommodating the growing use of e-bikes, e-micromobility, and other toy vehicles in Longmont. And this includes, but is not limited to, rules, code updates, incentive enforcement strategies, signage, and or directional programs. I had the opportunity to look at the the council video this afternoon, and there was really no discussion on it, but his motion was seconded and unanimously approved. And so the direction that we have is to come back with the first phase response by late spring. Any questions?
And when we talk about e-bike, is it bicycles? Is it e-motorcycles? What specifically was Council Popkins referring to?
So, yeah, this is a great question because there's a definite distinction between e-bikes and e-motorcycles. They're definitely in different classes. So when we refer to e-bikes, we're referring to Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 e-bikes. And just so you know, the difference, Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes are both governed to 20 miles per hour. So once you hit that speed, the engine shuts off. Class 1 e-bike requires you to pedal. Class 2 e-bikes, you can either throttle or pedal, or throttle and pedal. Class 3 e-bikes, however, are in a completely different class because they're governed up to 28 miles per hour. They do require you to pedal up to that speed, and once you hit that speed, then the engine shuts down. Now, there's state law that respects to respecting where Class 3 e-bikes can or cannot operate. And there are restrictions with respect to greenway trails within a local government's jurisdiction. So in the case of Class 3 e-bikes, they're not allowed to operate on greenway trails unless the local governing authority has passed an ordinance specifically stating it's okay. As of to date, the city of Longmont has not done that. So technically speaking, Class 3 e-bikes are not permitted on the city of Longmont's greenway trails. And then the e-motos are entirely different. I believe that with respect to e-bikes, they're limited to 750 watts. I don't think that's the case with e-motos, and I think they can go substantially faster than an e-bike. You can retrofit them with pedals, but they're not necessarily functional pedals. But e-motos, I think, require you to be licensed. I think they require you to be over 16. And so they're governed in a completely different class than e-bikes.
And do we have any ordinances for those e-motos currently?
Not presently. It's kind of an emerging technology, and I will say that planning staff, transportation planning staff, public safety staff, and park staff, we've been having conversations in advance of Councilmember Popkin actually making his motion to City Council on September 23rd, because we have been getting some concerns from the public about people operating these types of devices on the Greenway trails. That would include the one wheels, which are toy vehicles. And toy vehicles are technically not allowed anywhere except on private property or on a designated play street. And that's pursuant to state law.
And then is the staff also going to be going out into the public to observe some of the different scenarios?
Well, the discussions that we've had with public safety, they've already had a lot of opportunities to observe people operating these different types of vehicles. So they're really well aware of it, and when they're in violation of the law, and what they tell us is that they care about everything, all illegal behavior or all behavior that's not consistent with the model traffic code. In the case of the city of Longmont, that's chapter 11, because we've adopted the model traffic code by reference into the city's municipal code. So they care about all of it. It's just a matter of priorities or a matter of being able to actually, capture these people, because they're very squirrely and they're very quick and they can get in and out of places that, a motor vehicle can't. So, but they've been reporting to us. We've been having discussions on this issue.
Is this another topic that we should have a study session similar to our Strode study session, or what do you all see as the next steps?
I think that might make sense in advance of us going before City Council, because there are a lot of nuances associated with these types of vehicles. And I know the state is struggling with them. They do have established law with respect to the Class 3 e-bikes, Class 2 and Class 1 e-bikes. But they're all kind of handled differently, and they're regulated differently, and the e-motos are regulated differently from e-bikes. So it does make sense.
And when should we put it on a study session? And do we have to make a motion to add it to an agenda?
Well, I believe you would need to make a motion. I would defer to Jim and Kaylee. However, we haven't really begun, really diving into this issue yet, so it'd be premature at this point.
Chair Kalkofer, board members, we're going to be working on next year's work plan and bringing that forward, I believe, in December or early January. And I would recommend that at that time we can kind of pick out a time frame or when we would bring something back or set up study sessions.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there any additional comments?
Thank you, Chair. I don't know how many of you were on on tab when I brought this up last year. I think mostly all of you. I brought this issue up last year, and I also sent out emails from UIL with a campaign talking about how we can start this campaign about these electric mobile devices, and not just with the batteries, but the huge concern for our pedestrians are being hurt on the sidewalks, on the trails. So this is, our Councilor Popkin brought it up, but I brought it up last year for us with the information, and I guess we didn't consider it then. But if we go back and look at all the information from UIL, they actually already had some information as far as campaigns that they are already using, providing to other cities and other municipalities regarding making their communities aware of the dangers of these electric mobility devices. So, I mean, we can start with that or contact UIL and see what's going on and what they're currently doing. If there are any updated campaigns towards this, we can start with that. And then, before we come back in December. So I suggest that's just me. I suggest that we go back and maybe look at those emails, and then also contact them and see if there's any updated campaigns regarding this. I'm pretty sure there are, because this was brought up last year, maybe even before then. So if we can just start educating ourselves to what's already out there, then I think we'll be much more further ahead.
I've been hearing from residents in my neighborhood about this very issue. My question is, did Councilmember Popkins' directive include enforcement as something to be looked into and reported back to council?
Yes. His specific language or his specific motion stated, and I quote, "This includes but is not limited to rules, code updates, incentives, enforcement strategies, signage, and or educational programs."
Have there been any recorded incidents involving e-bikes or e-motors in the city, like any injuries, etc.?
Not that I'm aware of, but we could certainly look into it. Again, the public safety would have those records, and again, we have not really, been directed to look at this issue up until, very, very recently. So, but we will be looking into that.
Okay. So I guess you already asked the question, but I was going to ask about enforcement, like how would it be enforced, but that would be part of your examination. So what is the overall goal of looking at this? Is it to create additional infrastructure to accommodate the e-bikes, or is it truly just to do enforcement and restrictions on their use?
Well, it's a good question. Again, we haven't had much opportunity to speak as a larger group on this matter. We think education will be, I think, the first step to make people aware of what is allowed and where. And then obviously there are certain types of vehicles that are not allowed anywhere on the roadways. The toy vehicles are one of them. And so then it is outside of our ability to allow them to operate within the city of Longmont, because the state law says they aren't allowed. And the city can be more restrictive than the state law, but we cannot be more permissive. So if the state is saying toy vehicles are not allowed anywhere except on private property or on a designated play street, then that's it. We can't say that, oh yeah, go ahead and ride on sidewalks, ride on the roadways. But education, I think, will be probably the first and foremost, along with some signage, we think, along the greenway trails, stating what types of vehicles would be permitted.
Will that education also include car owners?
Oh, I would think so, because, what we're finding is that car owners are buying these vehicles for kids who really shouldn't have them or are not allowed to operate them, namely the parents, for the kids going to schools. And then what we're hearing is that the school resource officers are having to tell the parents that you bought a vehicle for your child and they're not permitted to ride it. And so those are difficult conversations that are being had presently.
Okay. I think it's really important to be careful about having these conversations, because at the same time we want to encourage alternative transportation options with Vision Zero and going away from only motor vehicle use. So of course the safety aspect is always the most important. So the correct mode of transportation is the best way, in terms of, like, it shouldn't be like these e-motors that are just, I see them all the time because I'm riding my e-bike around. And so I think, education is going to be really important, but very careful education, I would advise. And my other suggestion would be to actually have a focus group or something like that involving e-bike users and pedestrians who are involved in these types of conflicts, so that you can actually hear from residents about how they're feeling. From e-bike users like myself, I see them all the time, and I see good uses and bad uses all the time. And so hearing from people who are living it day to day, I think would be really important to help advise the city.
It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. I am pleased that Councillor Popkin brought this up because I do know of one accident involving someone I won't name, obviously, but it did involve a person of, a younger age person riding a e-motor that can go nearly 40 miles an hour. So there does need to be a very strong education campaign, but then also I want to be careful that, what is the great thing about the e-bikes and e-motos, all the classes, is the independence it brings to a lot of demographics that maybe didn't have that mobility for them to begin with. So whether younger people to get out of the house and hopefully away from screens, and then also older people to go meet friends for a coffee. So I hope that's part of the discussion, but obviously motor vehicle people need to be involved in the discussion because, we do have an issue of people speeding on things that can be retrofitted to go even faster. So I'm glad this is starting.
I'm thinking of a mode of transport that looks like a big skateboard with a wheel in the center and a motor. And I'm thinking of a mode of transport that looks like a motorized unicycle. Are either or both of those what you described as toy vehicles?
Yes.
Both of them?
Neither are allowed on the city streets.
Yeah, I just want to echo the sentiment that we do want to still encourage the community to use bicycles, motorized and not, for their mobility needs, while also still focusing on safety, right? Because there's that balance there. We have all seen that bad behavior on likely e-motos, and so I think that is a very hard balance, and it's going to be one that requires a lot of finesse.
With the diagonal project, are we and Boulder coming up with rules for what vehicles can and cannot be on that center lane?
Not presently. The state regulations would apply, and so in that case, I believe I can't speak for what Boulder County has allowed, except I believe that Boulder County has potentially allowed Class 3 e-bikes on their greenway trails, but I'd have to confirm that. Pursuant to state law, however, Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes could ride unfettered on the Colorado 119 trail.
Okay, if no other questions or comments, we will move on to public invited to be heard. Thank you. And I don't believe anybody is here from the public. There is? Great. If you can state your name and your address.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Pavel Ivanov, 2450 Airport Road in Longmont. Want to give some feedback on the e-bike safety point. Of course, safety roads and transit is a cornerstone for our community. Without efficient and safe way of getting from point A to point B, there's no city, there's no growth, there's no local economy. In fact, as you know, more and more cities find that focus on micromobility, such as bikes, scooters, skateboards, including e-variants, increase local business revenue, allow the cities to look more lively and safe, not only due to lower vehicle speed and safe traveler separation, but also because there's more people outside, which also minimizes crime. I believe that Longmont should take great care in preserving and promoting the current trend towards better mobility. See Coffin, for example, that's a great project. And focus on providing safer infrastructure for the ones biking, including e-bikes. It's with many things, public informing and design, street design, eliminates most, if not all, safety concerns. One can imagine that without proper bike lanes, see Main Street, for example, we still have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit, no vision zero there, and no bike lanes. A biker or an e-biker is stuck either traveling in traffic, which does not feel safe, or on the pedestrian sidewalk, neither of which is ideal. Coming back to that point that there were pedestrians complaining about e-bikes on the sidewalks, that's because there is no other alternative. I believe the city would be better off using its resources on better street design, including better zoning and traffic efficiency improvements. Colorado, as previously mentioned, has pretty good legal basis on that, and I don't think there should be any more bans or any extra enforcement. I think that the city should use its resources on better street design and allowing these modes of mobility to be used safely and efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, and thank you very much, TAB Board. And I was very impressed with this conversation about the e-bikes, and I'm so happy that we're moving forward on it. But also, thank you so much for emailing the RTD Board about the Skyride, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you. I'm here actually wearing two hats, Front Range Passenger Rail District Board Secretary, as well as the Mayor. And I am going to ask you very kindly for someone who would be able to go to the October 28th RTD Board. I was going to go, but our council meeting is really important, and I don't want to miss that on the 28th. So I actually had 4 asks, but I'm taking 2 off the Skyride because I'm going to present a resolution, and hopefully our council will adopt that to send. And just on that subject as well, Karen Banker, our RTD director, has received over 120 emails about Skyride just from Longmont. So this is an appropriate time for all of us to have a voice. Thank you very much. But what I really am interested in is that according to SB 184, this is my FRPR hat I've got on now, in sections 5, 7, 8, and 13, RTD has to come up with a plan to finish the Fast Tracks Northwest Corridor. They don't have a plan. And they are now presenting their 2025 Fast Tracks report. There's no plan in there at all. It's just the same tired excuses. And when I look at their funding sources, for some reason they forgot that they can actually bond that money. So, and there are other state funding that they can do. So I'll address that one on Wednesday. Also, RTD, if I don't know if anybody on this board knows about FRPR through the governor's office have said that they want them to use the Fast Tracks internal savings account as their portion of the funding to start phase 1, which is Union Station to Fort Collins, so that we can do that without raising any taxes at all for that first phase in Front Range Passenger Rail. RTD right now is decimating that FISA account. They are taking money out of it for just very strange things, different things. So I would like someone, if anyone's interested, to address that as well. And I would be more than happy to send you all the information if you'd be willing to go to this board meeting to represent us, because this is legislative action, and why RTD is not taking it seriously is questionable. There is an accountability team right now, which your city manager is on, looking at how the management of RTD is going, and do they want to basically reimagine the board and take it, totally redo the whole structure, because it isn't working for us. So RTD is supposed to have this plan for financing in by the end of the month or by January 2026. So they need a little push that people are interested in. I think that going there as a tab member holds a lot of weight. So I know it's a big ask because you have to drive down to Denver and go to those meetings, but it's important. So I want to thank you in advance. You can email me and let me know if you're interested, and it's a good time to show your face. Thank you very much.
We normally don't have comments after public invited to be heard, but I'm willing to drive any of us who want to go to that meeting on the 28th. So we can carpool and then also get in the HOV lane to get there.
Send the details to the tab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we have the staff direct an email to provide us information on the RTD meeting? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. So moving on, we're going to get to the information items, the crash report.
Good evening, Transportation Advisory Board members. My name is Caroline Michael. I'm a Civil Engineer 1 in the Traffic Department. Been here for quite a while now, but been doing this crash report for a while. Glad to show it to you. This crash report will cover, as we've done in the past, the previous 5 years of data. So it is a full 5 years because it is from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2024. So you should have, I think, a copy of the PDF in front of you, and for any members of the public who might be listening to this, it should be available in the tab packet, and it'll also get posted online in the near future. But we have our crash report laid out into a few different sections, a short introduction, some crash information that includes some information from the officer's reporting manual for the state of Colorado that kind of goes over how injury levels are defined in a motor vehicle crash on the form DR 3447, which is what the basis of this entire report is, either from Longmont PD or Colorado State Patrol. So it's not me coming up, it's not, us as like engineering or planning staff coming up with what a serious injury or a minor injury. It's usually the people in the field actually reporting that condition. And then we'll go through it with some yearly trends, fatalities and injuries by age, FSI, and FSI means fatality and serious injury. Some time of day trends, fatal crash comparisons with other Colorado cities on the Front Range, high crash locations, and there's also some fatal crash details in the report if you would like to read through that. We won't be reading through all of them because unfortunately there's too many and we don't want to get in necessarily all the details here, but it's certainly there, and if you have questions about it, feel free to bring it up with me at any time. So for 2024, we have a graph in section 1 that shows the total number of crashes as well as, total crashes, FSI crashes, as well as the population of Longmont. And it's represented as a number in the hundreds, which is a little awkward, but it needed to be scalable to show up with the rest of the information. I don't know if it'll show. Let's see. So I think this graph shows you some pretty interesting trends. We've actually been, so from the pre-COVID time, like 2017, 18, 19, we were seeing like much higher like overall crash incidents than we are now. 2020 is an anomalous year because lockdowns, not as, drastic reduction in commuting and a lot less of those, everyday minor rear ends happening. There's also some, I believe, police weren't necessarily reporting as much as maybe they would have been. I mean, fatal and serious injury would have, but for some minor like side swipes and things like that, there might not have been 100% of the reports filled out. But ever since 2020, the total crash numbers have gone up, but they have not yet like reached that like pre-COVID level, which is interesting. Maybe there's like some permanent change in the driving pattern that's driving that, with more work from home and things like that. And also from 23 to 24, we also see reductions both in the total crashes and the FSI. The population estimate also went down slightly. This is from the planning department's yearly population reports. And I don't think the number's not necessarily because of less or fewer residential dwelling units in Longmont. It's because of some like definitions of like household size were actually reduced, which if you're reducing your average household size from say like 2.9 to 2.5, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it does add up. So they did revise that estimate. So for the human level impact of traffic crashes on our Longmont roadways, we saw 387 people were killed or seriously injured in traffic crashes between 2020 and 2024. These represent 250 motor vehicle passengers, 52 pedestrians, 52 motorcyclists, and 33 bicyclists. And of those motor vehicle passengers, 168 of them were the vehicle driver, 52 were vehicle passengers, and I also know like 36 of those passengers were front, like passenger seat passengers, and then 30 and usually in an unknown position, usually just because that's from a CDOT spreadsheet and I'm not able to tell. But again, not terribly surprising that we're still seeing most of the FSI in motor vehicles. It's just like the largest mode right now. But we would also like to see, obviously, those like pedestrians and bicyclists come down as well. This is an FSI graph showing kind of a distribution by age, trying to determine at least somewhat where some of our vulnerable populations are. There's a split by motorcyclists, motor vehicle occupants, bicyclists, and pedestrians. The highest demographic is 25 to 29. I don't have like a concrete answer for why that is. I would guess it's because that's a younger person, active working person, has been driving for a few years, but maybe not super experienced. I also know that the trend now, I think, is for young adults are kind of like waiting longer to get their license as well now. So maybe even less experienced than there were in previous years, maybe even at like age 26. But I don't really have any concrete data to show you on those numbers. And then we kind of do see, unfortunately, some of our senior population as well being hurt on our roadways. So we would like to get that down. Yearly, monthly, time of day trends. October continues to be the highest month just for like total incidents of crashes. Theory why that is probably because this is the time of year when the sunlight, daylight hours start to decrease pretty dramatically and people adjust. But beyond that, that's the explanation I have for it, unless someone else has some other, sociological explanation for why that might be. But our FSI actually do peak in July. Not terribly surprising to me either. Lots of like summer traffic. That's kind of like our vacation traffic, kids off school, young people out of school. Yeah, that would be kind of my inference on it. All crashes day a week, still Friday. That's also been the trend for a while. Again, not like 100% sure why that is, but I can take a guess. People trying to get home on a Friday afternoon probably pretty quickly. Most crashes, again, occurring during daylight hours, the 12-hour period, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there is a peak in like late afternoon, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., which we will show. This is just like a 5-year trend line. In each year, 2020 through 2024 is one of those lines. So you can see the trend lines like pretty similar year after year. So, and that bottom line is just 2020, which is why it's quite a bit smaller than the others. And a fatal crash comparison with other cities. So if we go back to our report, we do keep track of how Longmont is doing in comparison to other cities in our area. And this isn't necessarily a comprehensive list of every community on the Front Range. It's just sort of a collection of them. To see how we're stacking up, we're pretty middle of the pack. That's kind of been the status quo for a while now. You know, not the worst, not the best. We'd obviously like to bring down our fatal crash numbers and get us lower down on the list. And that rate is just a 5-year average divided by the population, and using the 2020 census population just because that's a consistent number that we can get for every city pretty quickly. But so that's why even if maybe there's technically fewer, then it scales by population. So if you have a smaller population, it makes your rate higher. Our Boulder still doing a little better at 3 fatal crashes in 24 compared to our 6. But yeah, I wish I could say it was better, or we were ranking a little better compared to other communities, but we're still on a downward trend. So I think that's at least a good direction to be going in. So let's see. Back to, and I mean, really the rest of the slides are mostly informational items. You can find this in the report. So I won't read all of these verbatim. And a lot of these trends are pretty similar to what I've seen before. Highway 119 and Main Street, still the highest crash location in the city, has been for a long time, probably 10 years. And these like top 10 culprits have remained pretty, you know, there's been like some variation in these, and some of them have dropped out over time or gotten worse over time. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of like these, you know, large highway intersections, obviously, and a lot of this is just due to volume as well. So more traffic traveling through that intersection, more potential conflicts. And then I also made an attempt to go through every intersection and every roadway segment that had a significant number of FSI crashes, so that anyone interested, even from this board or the public, could look it up and see where those are the worst specifically, because sometimes more lower intensity or property damage only crashes is not the same thing as the highest FSI, which you can tell here because the highest FSI is currently Highway 66 in Main Street, with 7, unfortunately. And then again, these are some high crash locations with at least one. And I will note that there's an asterisk next to Highway 119 and Airport Road, because that's actually been included in our Longmont numbers for a long time, but it's actually not in our jurisdiction anymore. So, and actually they're going to be changing with the CDOT safety mobility project and the bikeway, the geometry at that intersection is going to change significantly. So that will hopefully bring down the crash number quite a bit, but. And then again, some more high crash segments. You can see downtown in here. Unfortunately, Main Street between 3rd and 6th and 6th and 9th. Most of those are like no injury crashes. There's quite a few side swipes and like rear ends because of the number of stops you have to make, both at the signals and the mid-block crosswalks and all the parking on the street. Leads to a lot of conflicts. There was one fatality on Main between 3rd and 6th. It was a single vehicle that did run into the median, I believe pretty late at night. I have to look up the time. But that in particular was not a pedestrian, but I do believe there's at least one pedestrian FSI in the downtown area. That was in 21. But so we don't like to see that, but we don't like to see them anywhere. Again, you can see it's a lot of state highways, Highway 119, Main Street, Hover Street's a large arterial as well. Pretty consistent patterns we've seen. I will note that some of these on Highway 66, particularly at County Line, Alpine, East, and even all along there are a lot more likely to be reported by State Patrol other than City of Longmont. So. And here's another good example of something that's getting worked on right now. So 5 FSI crashes on Highway 119 between South Pratt Parkway and Main Street. But we actually are working on some design with a consultant right now to fix some access control issues in that area. So the hope is that that really helps bring that down. I have that. It's like 600 Ken Pratt, right where Goodfellas and the Snarfs is. Pretty large, full movement, private access that people aren't really able to navigate. Yeah. And I as there's a pretty large appendix in here that just kind of goes through everything alphabetically. The idea was to have something, because right now we do have actually live on our Vision Zero website, a crash data dashboard that displays, I believe, 22 through 24 crashes. So this report goes back a little further than that. But I wanted to have something that if someone's really curious in theory about looking up, I don't know, maybe local street, Mapleton Circle, and they want to see how many crashes were on Mapleton Circle, they can go find that. So feel free to look at it. East-West Street is first usually. And this is just really the final slide for any of the public who might be watching. Some different ways to reach out. ServiceWorks, the Longmont Traffic Engineering email, and the Public Works mainline, which also directs you to ServiceWorks eventually. And police non-emergency, obviously emergency, call 911. Call anyone out there. Vision Zero, email vision.zero@longmontcolorado.gov. Ongoing Vision Zero task force meets bi-monthly. So, right, and that's what I have for you right now. So, any questions?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful. I have many questions. So, just you commented on total crashes being down in general. I also know that RT's usage is down since COVID as well. So maybe people are just not making as many trips as they were. That's my sort of theory there. On to my questions. Do you have FSI, or have you given any thought to collecting FSI data based off of road or intersection classifications? So like arterial collectors?
Yes. Okay. So that is a goal we're working towards. So I'm not 100% sure what this report might look like next year, but we're kind of working towards having something more web accessible for the public. And we've been, in the past, we have developed a Vision Zero high injury network map. So I don't have that quite on me right now, but yes, that is like a next step that would be great to take.
Okay.
For especially state highway, our city arterials, city collectors, and so forth.
Also, I'm curious if you have any data on speed limits where FSI occurs.
Yeah, that would be like also like a building block of that.
Awesome.
So it's like, yeah. So, yeah, because something with crashes that's kind of interesting is because when the police look at it and they look at the posted speed limit, it might be that no one was really technically speeding by that definition. But, anyone, if you're going 45 miles per hour and then you're hitting a turning vehicle that's like barely moving at all, I mean, that's a huge differential in speed and momentum. So, yeah, it's like an interesting thing to parse because it's like not maybe technically a speeding violation, but obviously we know that from a Vision Zero lens that we want to get down to safe speed, save lives. So.
And then is there any data available for how the city's population is by age? Because I'm curious how well that lines up with the injury breakdown or FSI by age.
Sure. I don't have to go revisit the planning department's reports about that. I'm sure there's probably some of the long range planners have a little bit more information than I do about that. And I know Jennifer would probably love to talk to me about it. So
please ask about it.
Yeah,
I think that
no
would
problem.
be very interesting to see what does and doesn't correlate. And then one more. Have there been any of those top 10 intersections rebuilt or redesigned since 2020?
I'm trying to remember. I know that I have like a few examples, and I know that there's some even upcoming because I know there's a CDOT project upcoming at 9th and Main. And then I know for a long time, Main and Pike was much worse than it was, but that was actually rebuilt a few years. I think it was completed in 2021. I know that has some protected left turns. Actually, I think the northbound left turn there was permissive for a while, and that was a pretty huge issue. So like that's been improving, but it looks like Kyle has some examples.
Yeah, so starting with 2020, we haven't had too many significant changes to our intersections just because of COVID funding was unknown. And as we're developing this Vision Zero plan, that's going to be the real starting point to redesign our intersections within the city. I will note that for our top 10 intersections, number one, the report, Highway 118 Main Street, there was a protected left implemented for those directions. Previously, it was a permissive flashing yellow arrow. That has been changed, I believe, in 21 to a solid green arrow only movement. We have seen crash reductions at that area since then. As we're moving back down to some of those roads, minor signal improvements, but almost all these top 10 intersections have been on plan for either some CDOT improvements happening in 2026 or the city-led projects as we have been implementing new single timings as well as clearance intervals, lean pedestrian intervals, and then just general signal retiming through our transition from one adaptive network to another. We've been retiming our signals and progressions to hopefully keep traffic flowing at a nominal rate, but also reducing the chances for rear end crashes. So, and as we go through our Vision Zero process, we'll be adding a lot of these intersections to more larger CIP projects or even just small spot checks here and there. In addition, at Highway 119 and Highway 119 and Main Street, and then Highway 66 and Main Street, we are working with CDOT and our third-party vendor for red light cameras and speed enforcement. That should be coming on in the next few months, and we'll be evaluating the safety and changes in driver behavior as we implement those programs.
Lovely.
And
awesome.
I thought of some more. So there's Third and Pace. I know was converted to a that was a permissive left turn eastbound at one point. I think that was changed in maybe 2019 because I think there was fatal crash there in like April 2018. Highway 119 in Slayton was changed to no longer have permissive left turns. So that means like the solid green arrow only. Airport in Clover Basin was also changed to solid green arrows only. So there's like a few places where this has been implemented. Unfortunately, it's not the, so like Highway 66 in Maine actually was, but obviously we're still seeing some incidents there. So it's not always effective. People can still run red lights, run red left arrows, but
Thank you for the presentation. Okay, so I have a few questions for you. Has there been any change in the number of vehicles in any year? Like actual, just like physically the number of vehicles that are on the streets? And could that be why have you been recording that number, I guess? Or is there a way to record that number?
Generally, since 2020, it's kind of thrown a wrench into historic numbers. We have seen the numbers kind of get closer back to that pre-COVID level, but we've seen some changes in uses as far as people from home, but that might be some less trips there. But when it comes to Amazon deliveries, grocery delivery, you got Uber Eats, those type of uses have seen a big increase. So as far as VMT and vehicles through our intersections, they're about a few percentage points ahead than in 2019, but year over year we've seen a little bit of an increase, but a lot of that's generated through traffic and some more tourism as you see people going to Estes and Boulder.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to remember my question when I was writing this down. So how many percentage-wise of the incidents that you have result in serious and fatal in total? Like how much percent, like of all the incidents you have, what percentage are serious or fatal?
yeah, I don't know if I have that like direct calculation, but I certainly could calculate that because it's just like, here's the FSI based on the total percentage wise, but yeah, actually that's a good idea. It probably should be in there. So
Okay. I was just curious, like,
yeah,
you know, how many of those incidents actually result in a fatality or serious injury, basically?
yeah.
Yeah, just looking at section 1, chart 1, there is 1,982 crashes, and 55 of those were FSI crashes. So the percentage points, 2.5%. If I'm doing my head math real fast, but that calculation would be there.
Okay. So follow up to that question would be, how does that compare to other cities around the area?
So compared to other cities, it's hard to figure out because we don't have access to their reports specifically. So the reporting may kind of fall short. A lot of, I believe, what Caroline collected was data from state sources, which there's been some discrepancies and how they transfer their data and clean it to get on their sites. We lose a lot of that context and information about the accident versus our internal team is able to get all the information off the crash reports. And as we're looking at FSIs, pedestrians, bicyclists, any significant injury or crashes we want to look into, we can dive deep in those, read the narratives, and determine what is the issue, how many are injured, and any corrective actions as part of our Vision Zero process. So when compared to other cities, it's really hard to correlate those two together, unfortunately.
Okay. Maybe that's something that all the cities can talk to each other about and share some data, maybe.
Yeah, there are some working groups, but getting that many people on the same page and the resources needed to get that data scrubbed and clean is very significant. But it's something the state and Dr. Cog have been trying to do for some time. So making progress is just a very large task to undertake.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of data. all the cities, how many of those have adopted Vision Zero? In the table of all the cities, I don't know what table number that was, but
Yeah, I know. City of Boulder has, City of Denver has, which is not on the table because that's just like so much more population wise. But City of Fort Collins, I believe has, or they have a Vision Zero-esque program.
yeah, could you?
Yeah,
I'm just curious, like of those. My reason why I'm asking is like the cities who have adopted Vision Zero, are they lower than Longmont? Like, is that? That's kind of where I was going with that question.
Collins is a little lower.
I wouldn't say there is a quote smoking gun of cities that have adopted Vision Zero at a certain point in time have seen a reduction. Some of the cities have different philosophies when it comes to Vision Zero and how those projects are implemented. I would not right now say that cities that have implemented Vision Zero in the last few years have shown that they have significantly reduced crashes as a sole result of Vision Zero.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Like City of Denver, I think has had Vision Zero since maybe 2017. And I know they've had some like fluctuations. I know they've had some increases in fatalities. Also, I think Louisville and Superior, I know, were interested in SS4A grants as well. I'm not sure if they have officially adopted Vision Zero programs, but I know it's like becoming much more widely implemented in this area. But
okay, has it been? Have you? I don't know if you record this data, but a change in how people move, and is that the reason why there's less FSIs? Like, there's less cars because people are using alternative methods, like ride Longmont, or maybe they're biking or walking instead.
Yeah, so I will also point out that any record or like crash report I get from the forums is, I believe all of them involve a motor vehicle in some sense, like either a car or a motorcycle. And that includes collisions with pedestrians and bikes, but it would not include things that are just an e-bike on like a greenway trail. That's like not something I see, which I think Boulder has like kind of started collecting some of that, especially around like CU Boulder campus. But so that's like one thing. I don't know if transportation planning people have like more numbers to go on as far as like bike usage and how that's maybe like increased or decreased. I know RTD probably has some ridership numbers, but it's like board member Starrett mentioned that their ridership is also down. So
yeah, I would just be curious, like, is the reason why it's gone down is because people are just choosing to use other methods to move around. Is there a comparison between the type of intersection and the incidents that are happening in the crashes? So like if it's a traffic light as opposed to stop sign, or the few roundabouts that we have in the city, do you see a big difference between the different types?
Yeah, so I mean a lot of the high crash intersections are like large signalized intersections. Yeah. Which is it sort of follows what you might expect to see. We are working currently with like Cami. There's been some work with a consultant trying to get more of that kind of from the data we have. So they're also trying to like geocode a lot of our older stuff that is not geocoded right now with the lat long coordinates. We're definitely working towards some of that like bigger level stuff that is like speed limits, number of lanes, number of turn lanes. Is it protected, permissive, approach turn crash versus rear ends, all those sorts of things. So we're working on it.
Okay.
There is a demo version right now that's not live on the site on the Vision Zero webpage under Data tab. It's kind of the start of our dashboard. Caroline mentioned earlier, it has about 2 years of our data, but that's kind of the progress we're looking at when going from maybe a report status to more of an interactive dashboard for residents to view their area, specific areas, type of crashes, and be able to play with the data themselves instead of relying on a 1 year report for staff. So we can keep that updated on a more consistent basis to fuel our decisions more. You'll see a lot in the data that we're collecting from other cities or the state. It might be a year or two old, But we've made a point of emphasis to have our database as updated as possible. So that's something we value high of. If we have a crash happen in the city, we want to be able to do a proper investigation and be able to process how we can avoid those accidents in the future.
Okay. Sounds like you're making some good changes. It's probably too early to tell, but the new cameras that were just installed, have you seen any changes in the number of crashes or incidents that are happening at those intersections?
The red light speeding cameras have not been installed yet. What the city has been doing right now is speed enforcement trailers, mostly along our residential roads. We generally haven't seen too many instances, as most of the locations that those have been placed are along segments of road, not necessarily at intersections. So unfortunately, it'd be hard right now to differentiate if that does improve safety or not. But it's something we are looking into to see if there's a driver behavior change.
Yeah, I would think so. But yeah, for some reason I thought those cameras were already online. How many of the crashes that you've seen have happened because someone is turning right on a red?
I mean, I don't have that. It's not in here, but I know I've seen it. Like, it's definitely an element of like pedestrian, also like people crossing with bikes at signals for sure.
Okay, because like especially at those.
Right on red or green, really.
Oh yeah, but when people are turning right on red, then that's seems like an easy thing to stop just by changing the rules, and it would eliminate a lot of those crashes, hopefully.
Yeah, and I will note we switched how we process our data starting in 2022 from the platform we had before. So looking forward from 2022 forward, we'll be able to get that data of type of crash, type location by speed, volume, and be able to integrate that data into our GIS system. So then there's a lot more options available to process and view correlations between data sets like demographics or population changes. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know, maybe it would be one of the easiest changes to make, I feel like. Probably not from your point of view, but from over here it seems like
that'd be through the Vision Zero process.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's my questions. Thank you.
I want to commend staff for preparing a very comprehensive and detailed report. And I was especially pleased to hear the examples that you gave, Kyle, of intersections that are on the worst 10 list that have been improved in ways that enhance safety. Now, my question is there a formal process whereby staff looks at the crash report and uses that information to prioritize projects or possibly move projects around on the capital improvement program?
Yeah, so we do evaluate our crash report in locations where we have most crashes, that when we're reviewing type of crashes, how they happened, where they happened, and how those can be preventable. We'll work with those into our CIP projects. A lot of the ones that you've seen here, maybe not signalized, but unsignalized locations through our pavement management program. That is funded through the CIP. We'll make improvements on a yearly basis to intersections as we work through and repave, add bulb outs, bike lanes, restrict parking in areas. And then as you work through our action plan with Vision Zero, you'll be seeing more capital improvement projects come online and through the budget process.
Sounds good. It's a great report. I have a few suggestions that might make it even better. And it looks like it's in final form, so you could consider my comments maybe for the next edition of the crash report. Chart 2.1, it's titled Fatalities and Serious Injuries by Person by Age. And it's got some great information in it, but I think a more descriptive title, especially for lay people, might be fatalities and serious injuries by mode of travel by age. That really seems to be what chart 2.1 is getting at. In other words, it describes the age groups and it also describes what type of vehicles were involved. My next comment has to do with tables 5.1 and 5.2. Table 5.1 identifies intersections with 5 or more FSI crash incidents, and that's pretty straightforward. Now, there are 8 intersections there that are not included in Table 5.2. Table 5.2 is titled Intersections with at least one FSI crash incident. So an intersection that has 5 or more also has at least one. So the information is great, but the titles of the tables seem to leave something to be desired. You could either combine all the information into one table, or you could retitle table 5.2 something like intersections with at least one but fewer than 5 FSI crash incidents. It would just make more sense that way. And I have the same comment with regard to tables 5.4 and 5.5.
No, thank you.
And I'd ask that you check the date of fatal crash number 31. It's given as November 2nd, 2025, which is in the future. And also, the title of Appendix B, there's just a typo there. You've got alphabetical ending with the double L, but I think what you mean to say is alphabetically ending with a Y.
Okay.
Like Appendix A. But once again, great work, and I'm really encouraged to see that the information, this data that comes out of the crash report is actually being used to make our streets safer. So, good work.
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Great work. And thank you for all the very important questions from fellow board members. I'll let the chair be last. Just kind of one question, and maybe, and I want to phrase it as it might help us as we talk to also the county and CDOT on this board. Is there a way to, besides just comparison with other cities, but also county or unincorporated parts of Boulder County, from people coming in and out of Longmont to the other cities? Because we also hear decisions from the county of various safety projects they're working on, and it would be nice if we have actual data to see how important those projects are,
Yeah, I know.
if
Actually,
that's possible.
Boulder County does have a Vision Zero program as well implemented, I believe. But are you asking for like a percentage of like how many? I guess like vehicles moving through.
Well,
a kind of origin destination, like how many?
I would say pretty much like table 4.0, where we have comparison cities, but also look at maybe county or unincorporated parts of specifically Boulder County. I bring that up personally because I had a friend who was killed in 2024 in unincorporated. So, and I know the county is thinking about putting a concrete median after that fatality, once they get the funding. So I think it's helpful to know other crash analysis outside of Longmont that we also hear from the county or CDOT. So that's kind of my reasoning, if it's possible. Yeah.
Oh, noted. Actually, it might be possible for an incorporated Boulder County.
Okay.
I haven't looked into what Weld is doing
Yeah.
as much. Also, sorry to hear about your friend.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the report. I know this is a difficult report to do because all of these are people's lives, and it's not only the people who passed away or seriously were injured, but it's also the family that's impacted as well. So I know this is a very hard report to do because it's not just data on a spreadsheet. These are people's lives. So thank you for the detailed report. I have a couple questions. So for the age group 25 to 29, I know you said it's hard to figure out what the cause is. On some of these non-serious accidents, do you get data if there's alcohol or drug influence? Is that something that's reportable, or is it only serious or fatal accidents that you get that information?
So it is on all of the reports.
Okay.
It's a list we could actually do. It's just once you're factoring in, there's just fewer FSIs. So sometimes if you're going really deep and like looking at each report one by one, it's a lot of work to do it for. Once you starting into minor injuries, possible and no injury at all. But yes, that is theoretically available.
Gotcha. And then for your slide number 9, is there a way that you can have percentage of traffic and crashes for those intersections? Because I'm curious, like you said, maybe 119 and Main, sure, it has a lot of accidents, but it also sees a lot of volume. So I wonder if there's percentages for these intersections, because sure, maybe there's a lot of accidents, but there's also a lot of volume.
It's like it's kind of funny because we used to have a whole method of like ADTs, and it was like a whole calculation of like crash rate based on like the ADT of like the intersection. But I don't think the data for like the ADT was necessarily always like super up to date.
Okay.
So, and that ended up being like such a big factor in like the previous like fatal crash or like high intersection crash rankings, that it was like, is this really right? Should we really be, ranking these this way if we're not even really confident? We have a data count from like 2009. Maybe that's not how we should be prioritizing things. So that's kind of actually how that's how I got to how it is today, where it's just kind of a number. Like for now, we're just not going to worry about all that. We're just going to put a number on FSI counts. But however, that is definitely possible, and it's definitely a factor in like an incidence rate. For sure. Because Highway 119 in Maine, probably one of the highest, ADT intersections in the whole city. So it's definitely a fair point.
So, Chair Kalkoffer, I'll throw in something we could add to future reports. We may want to just add a chart of ADTs on major roadways. Okay. The challenge is that traffic is fluid. So while we say that there's 35,000 trips on 119 on a daily basis, that isn't from one end of Longmont through the other. It adds, it changes. Some drop off, some add on. So we'd have to pin down like locations at these points, but it can give you an idea of and of all these intersections, they are almost all of them arterials, or high level collectors. Bentway is a collector versus an arterial, but the rest are almost all arterials, and all of them, 2-3 lanes, all as you can guess, carry a lot of traffic. But we could probably add something. It may not be pertinent to that intersection per se, but we can look at it and see if there's to add that additional data.
Well, that's great because looking at this, Main and 119. Yeah, let's try to fix that. But maybe the worst intersection is, 119 and County Line Road percentage wise, and maybe I'm looking at this backwards, and the most dangerous road's not that top one. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it. So I know we're talking about tech for near misses. Near misses will not be on this future version of this report, correct?
Well, if we get the reporting technology, that would allow us to include some of them potentially, but I mean that it would not be like a citywide, I don't think, comprehensive like we might have something in a certain intersection, we can show here's the number of reports versus that. But I don't want to commit to anything right now. But
And I will say the city did apply for a federal grant probably 2 years ago for near miss technology. I believe we did a report, September 22, about the technology we're looking at. And fortunately, that grant's been on hold because of current climate of federal grants. So as technology the city has been looking at, but at this point it's decently expensive and a little bit laborious as far as reviewing footage, installation material, but that's something that we are looking at.
That's a bummer. I'm sorry. And then where does the report for incidents with bike and ped? So you were saying that those are not necessarily on here, but a lot of people have been asking about that interaction point, and where would we be able to find that in the future?
So the new dashboard, the demo is on the site right now, has an option, or it should, I don't think it's actually been added yet, but the intention is to add an option that can separate pedestrians and bicyclists, involves crashes together. I will say Dr. Cog has a more developed tool for their region. It isn't as high resolution as we would like to be for just Longmont data, but on their side, they do have an option to differentiate by pedestrian and bicyclists.
Great. And then I know we don't have a crystal ball, but what's going on with Erie and Superior? They're on the bottom of the list. They have zeros across the board. Do you think that's right, or are they doing something that? And obviously their population is small.
Yeah.
But what are they doing?
Good question. I will say that anything on that table is taken from like CDOT's website. They actually have a pretty easy to use table where you can put in by city number of fatalities. So a lot of that probably is population. Also I know with like some newer municipalities. So Longmont's been around, for a while. I don't have the historian with me right now, but 19th century, some of the newly incorporated cities also have like pretty interesting boundaries about like what intersections are counting within which jurisdiction. You might think some intersections like really high incident, but it's like actually not in that city, it's in the other one. So yeah, messing around with like Centennial. I know that you have some pretty interesting town boundaries, but yeah, I haven't really looked into it much with like Erie. I know Erie's like a growing community, but I'm still not as big as we are. So
yeah, type in use, new communities, old communities. I would say a large portion of our data, you'll see our crashes come from state highways. And as part of our Vision Zero initiative is be transparent about our data. When we have crashes, why we have crashes. You'll see a lot of Vision Zero communities will exclude state highway or other entity-owned highways from the area. I think Taylor had a great point about Boulder County. We're looking at Boulder crashes, but you'll see a lot of reports in the news. Boulder County cyclists hit in the canyon. Who does that go to? That goes towards that area, not the city. So that gets excluded from reports. So as part of our Vision Zero initiative is why we're taking on our own data set and making sure that data is clean for our use, is being transparent that we'll have every single crash that gets reported into our system, which is part of our state system. The only thing that might be lagging for our system would be crashes that Colorado State Patrol responds to, but we keep an eye out for those specifically, especially in the big crashes. Anything that is Longmont PD responded to gets into our system and will be recorded.
Great. Kudos on the report. This is a lot of information, and I know it takes a lot of work. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess since I'm thinking about it, so for like the big highways, how we usually define it is what is counted as like Longmont on like 287 usually goes from Plateau, which is just south of Prospect, up to Park Ridge Avenue at the north end of town by the North Walmart. It might go a little bit north of that. On 119, we kind of discussed the weird situation like airport in 119 is in, so that's actually really not our jurisdiction, but a lot of that previous data is kind of baked into this anyway. But I think it really probably starts at it starts at South Fordham in the diagonal and then goes east to Fairview, Sandstone. So that's so I know County Road 3.5 is sometimes thought to be in the city, but we are not currently maintaining that signal. And then 66 is really county line all the way west to Airport Road by Macintosh Lake, the little local road section of Airport. So.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to Chair Kalkoffer's question about crashes as a percentage of traffic volume and the discussion of ADT that followed. Earlier in the year, we learned about traffic signal modifications that the city was or perhaps still is implementing. And I think a lot of the intersections involved were on this high crash location list. And my recollection is that you had visual input from those intersections. Can those new signal systems calculate VMT for you?
So short answer, yes. We have, that's part of that traffic signal upgrade that we've been doing for the last couple of years now. We're moving to the next phase of our areas with another federal grant we received, and that'll be Highway 66, 17th Avenue, Airport, Nelson, and 3rd Avenue, plus a few other ones sprinkled in there. But as part of that system, we are getting back data counts from for travel time and for intersection counts lane by lane. What we're dealing with now is we are recording all this data. How do we organize it? How do we process it? And how do we integrate with the rest of our data sets? So part of that effort is to get that migrated over, but it will require some staff time to record all of our intersections.
So getting that data on ADT would make it feasible to come up with the calculation that Chair Kalkoffer was looking for going forward, don't you think?
Correct.
All right. Well, that would be a very valuable addition to future editions of the report. Thanks.
All right. If no other questions, thank you very much. And then next on the agenda is action items, tab application review process.
Yeah. So I believe most of you are aware, but we are currently in the recruitment process for committee members, or for board members, excuse me. So I'll just go over the recruitment timeline really quick. But recruitment opened on September 8th and it closes on October 17th, so in 4 days. From October 21st through the 22nd, those applications will be sent to the liaisons and the secretary to schedule interviews, so myself and Steph. From October 23rd through November 20th, we will conduct board interviews with the applicants. And then on November 21st, after those interviews have been completed and scored, we will send recommendation memos to the city clerk's office. And then on December 6th, they will go through council interviews, and on December 16th, council will make appointments. So the action item for today is that we need 2 tab members to volunteer to sit in on those interviews with the applicants with myself and Steph.
A minimum of 2 or just 2?
So just 2. It's open to anyone. So if all the board members want to, they're certainly welcome. But minimum of 2. And I will say, so for time commitment wise, just so you have a better idea, as of right now, we do have 2 applicants. Of course, recruitment is still open for another 4 days, so that could grow. But right now we have 2 applicants, and each interview process will be about 30 minutes, and it'll be online virtually via Teams. So right now we're looking at 1 hour of commitment time.
I will volunteer myself, but also ask fellow members to recruit as well. Just in case. It's great that we have 2. We do have 2 seats, and it would be great to get more community input. So Please get the message out that there's 2 days left to apply to this board.
Yeah, I'll volunteer myself. I've been a part of the interview process once before, so it's easy, especially if it remains 2 people.
I've done it before too, so I can do it again.
I would also be interested in joining in. Can you share those dates again? I didn't get them written down.
Yeah, absolutely. So recruitment is open until October 17th. And then October 21st and October 22nd, those applications will be sent to myself and Steph, and we will schedule the interviews with the applicants and the board members who have volunteered to interview. Those interviews will be conducted between October 23rd and November 20th. On November 21st, the recommendation memos will be sent to this clerk's office. On December 6th, the council interviews will happen, and then on December 16th, the council will make the appointments. And that can all be sent in a follow-up email as well. I believe it was sent to the board members, but we're happy to resend that recruitment timeline.
Thank you very much.
Great. And then November meeting cancellation.
Yeah, so we just wanted to bring this option to the board because the next meeting is on November 10th, which is the day before the holiday, November 11th. Although I believe that the board may need to actually meet on that day in order to make those recommendations to City Council for the recruitment. So I don't know actually that cancellation is an option, but we can make it just a very brief meeting that is only focused on making those recommendations to council, just because it is the day before the holiday and wasn't sure if folks would be available to attend.
So the recommendations for the applicants is what you're saying on November?
Correct, yes.
Okay, but then interviews might go until November 20th. So would we have to actually vote in the early December meeting, which then only gives you guys a week to then send it off to council, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sorry, because I guess, can I call on Steph? Steph, were you able to talk to Jane about this?
So the recommendations will need to be sent to the city clerk's office by the 21st. So you'll want to make that decision beforehand. So we can't wait till December to do that. So you'll want to do the interviews as soon as possible, which would be 2. And then I would say make your recommendations immediately. And you would work on that formal recommendation with Kaylee.
Right. So all I point out is that then we'll have to finish the interviews before the November 10th meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So we won't cancel the November meeting, but we'll keep it short.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Comments from the board?
I just want to thank staff for their for the information and for their presentations, and I hope to see you guys briefly in November.
Yes, thank you for all the presentations and all the work that it goes into make that crash report. I know it kind of comes close to home for me for the 2024, so thank you.
So I just wanted to let the rest of TAB know that I did make it onto the committee for Boulder County for the new transit system, so I thought I'd let everyone else know that I'm on that committee. Supposed to be meeting in a couple of weeks maybe, so I'm looking forward to being part of that process. I was wondering if there was a follow-up to my question last month about Boston and the bike lane, because they're still in the same spot, the bollards, and it looks like it's getting more and more dirty every single day, so I was just wondering if there was an update on that. Thank you.
So we have asked our operations team to look into it. So we anticipate that the bollards will more than likely in that area where there is curb and gutter will be removed. So there is room to ride through. We can't shift the lane make the lane any tighter. There's a lot of trucks that run up that road. Believe it or not, we sweep that road once a week. Doesn't look like it. What we have done is tasked our water quality staff, erosion control staff, to start meeting with the property owners to try to reduce some of the debris coming onto the road. Because while I want to blame Colorado Materials, they aren't exclusive in tracking debris onto that road. There's 2 other sites, one of which was a city site that they are now stabilizing. So we will continue to sweep the road on a regular basis, try to get it done at least once a week. And then we will be getting the bollards hopefully before the next meeting.
Okay, so there won't be any bollards anymore.
There won't be any bollards between where the curb and gutter is, which is a standard bike lane. There will be where it is more of a shoulder, so there will still be bollards separating some of the travel users of that road from the travel lane. But where it becomes curb and gutter, it was a standard bike lane to begin with.
Okay, because the question I had last time was that bollards were actually placed in the bike lane side rather than on the line, so it made the bike lane extra narrow.
Right. And it is a narrow bike lane to begin with. It doesn't meet the current standard. It did meet the standard at the time. But the best option is to remove the bollards. If we push them back into the road, or even put them on the white lane a little more, it's not going to provide enough for a bike.
It would be like an extra 6 or 7 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a lot of difference for a bike. Okay, so I don't think it's being swept in the bike lane right now, though, because it's basically completely
Is it
graveled.
still
It's
pretty bad? I drove by it and it looked pretty good the other day, but we'll have them sweep it again.
Well, I think they just sweep on the actual road and it doesn't make any impact.
Make
to
it
the
in the
bike.
shoulder? Okay.
Yeah, because I think it actually just pushes it all onto the shoulder.
Okay.
And then it's just pure gravel.
Right, we'll keep working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the presentations. So I just wanted to give you all a shout out. I had a few people who put in service works requests, and service works, and you all are amazing and super quick. So I'm sorry because I've been broadcasting that a lot. So I don't know if you've been getting a lot of additional requests or other departments, but I just wanted to give you all a shout out because you all do amazing work very quickly too. So thank you for doing that. I also want to do a public service announcement. October is the highest crash month of the year. So if anybody's listening, please slow down and get off your phones, especially during this time change. If we can save a couple crashes, that'd be great. And then, yeah, let's get more applicants than 2. I would love to have more than 2 applicants since we have 2 empty seats. So if anybody can spread the word about this awesome board, or if you're listening, please apply to this board.
Once again, kudos to staff for the excellent edition of the crash report.
I meant to mention it last month, but the new crossing on Sunset on the bottom of the hill, thumbs up. It's great. Cars are actually stopping. It's fantastic. So thank you for doing that. I see people using it all the time, and it is effective. Those cars are speeding down the hill and then they see the lights and they're like, oh, we gotta stop, and they actually are stopping. So I think that's going to be great moving forward.
I also want to say I've noticed that a lot of lane markings have been repainted, and I really appreciate that.
Lots of kudos. Nice work. All right. Comments from City Council Liaison, Councilor Yarborough.
Thanks for the report. It was really good. I appreciate it for all the information. And also thanks again for Sunset as well, because I walk that way all the time and people are actually utilizing it. So thank you very much.
And then items for the upcoming agenda, just the candidates? Great. So it's 7:39. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.